Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monday, February 5th meeting of the Tuckahoe Village Board of Trustees. Will everyone please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag?
We're not on.
I pledge allegiance to the
Flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Maybe want to ask Wade if we're on.
Will the village clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Luisi.
Present.
Trustee Leo.
Present.
Trustee Alfasi.
Present.
Mayor Eklund.
I am pleased to be here tonight. I have one appointment to make tonight, and that is going to be the appointment of Emilia, as we call her, Emily Yankowski, to police detective effective February 5, 2018. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
So I want to thank Emily for her many, many years of hard work in the Tuckahoe Police Department, and I just want to say that I, along with the rest of the board, are very pleased to make this deserving promotion. So we'll take a roll call.
Trustee Luisi.
In favor?
Trustee Leo.
In favor?
Trustee Alfasi.
Very much in favor.
Mayor Eklund.
Absolutely in favor. So Emily, would you like to come on up and take the oath?
We don't have any video.
Do you have somebody to hold the Bible for?
Turn around. We're not on.
Steve, why don't you go check the
It's up. Maybe just the monitors are on.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to stand like this so you can actually look at the camera. Come on over here. Good. Please raise your right hand as you are. Thank you. I, Emily Yankowski, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and that I will faithfully discharge
the duties of police detective
the duties of police detective
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ah, Steve, all right. You good?
Thank you.
All right.
Take a picture. Okay, I can see them up there.
Emily, would you like to say a couple of words?
First, I want to thank Chief Costanzo, Mayor Eklund, and the village trustees for giving me this opportunity. I also want to give special thanks to my family, friends, and coworkers for always encouraging me and supporting me in my career. It's an honor to be given this promotion, and I will continue to do my best in serving the Village of Tuckahoe Police Department and my community. I look forward to the next chapter in my career and any new challenges it will bring me. Thank you.
Any of the board members like to say a word or two?
I've had the pleasure of knowing Emily for the last 3 years, and we have some mutual acquaintances, and I think this is a wonderful thing that the village has done, and I wish you continued success and a bright future.
Steve?
Congratulations, Emily, and to Steve, her husband. You're going to be a fine detective. You know, we know you for years, and very, very proud of you.
Well, you're going to have just as much gold on when you go to work as your husband. Congratulations.
That's right.
Best of luck to you.
Yeah, best of luck. We're very proud of you. You know, very, very deserving. Everyone knows you in our community, so we're really pleased that you accepted to take this opportunity. So thank you. And I'm now going to ask your chief if you'd like to say a word or two.
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations to Emily for a well-deserved promotion. Congratulations to her family, to her husband and her children, and her mom and dad, and her extended family. I don't know if the people in Tuckahoe could see, but the room is pretty packed tonight with well-wishers and family members. So it's a great tribute to Emily and what everyone thinks about her. You know, Emily started in 2004 with the police department, and it was after a very successful career in the private sector. And she brought with her a tremendous skill set with computers, with crunching numbers and administrative work. And mostly what she brought was a great sense of customer service. You know, she treats our residents and our visitors and everyone that she deals with, her peers, with a tremendous amount of respect, and with a feeling that she's serving them as if they were customers of hers. And you know, I've always said in a lot of ways that I wish a lot of times some of our recruits, part of their academy training is to work in the private sector, work maybe in retail, and deal with customers on a regular basis, because it has a tremendous amount of value, and Emily brought that value to this job. She has, in the past several years, been our accreditation manager for our accreditation program with the Department of Criminal Justice Services. And that takes a tremendous amount of work and concentration, and really it's a difficult enough job when you're doing it every single day. But in our world, Emily's doing it maybe on Monday, and then Tuesday she's back on patrol, and then Wednesday she starts doing it, but then we say, oh, there's a traffic accident outside. Put your rig on and run outside and take care of business. So, and she never complains, never wavered. Our program is one of the most successful in the state. Whenever the auditors come down, they just have such kind and regards to what she does and what she's accomplished, and makes our program a model for many other departments in this area to follow. So she's been at it for a while, never looking for anything extra, any extra recognition, just a very hard work ethic. And I'm very proud, and I know this board is very proud to give her some reward tonight for all her hard work. So congratulations, Emily.
Yes, very much so. Is there anybody else who'd like to say a word or two? All right, if not, we're going to take just a minute, because I think half the residents of the village of Tuckahoe are here tonight. This room is packed, so we'll just take a minute. I know Emily's going to have a very special celebration tonight, so congratulations again, and enjoy your evening.
All right, good night. Have fun. Have fun. Well deserved. Well deserved.
These are just out? Okay.
Good. I don't want it. That was a shame.
Boy, the room is empty now. Okay. So we have one presentation tonight, which is an annual presentation by our village, the village's auditors, who prepare our financial statement. So tonight we have with us Jeff Shaver. And Jeff, would you please come on up to the mic and tell us how we're doing?
Thank you. For a minute there, I thought everyone was here for me.
Of course we are.
Good evening. Pleasure to be here. My name is Jeff Shaver. I'm a partner with PKF O'Connor Davies. I'm here to present the results of the May 31st, 2017 audit. I'd like to start by thanking all your staff for all the hard work they did. They do keep a nice set of books. The audit's pretty clean. Definitely a pleasure to come here and work with your staff. The audited financial statements is a some 70-page document. Just the structure of the document, it starts with the independent auditor's report, which is the only part of the financial statements that is the property of the firm. It goes into management's discussion and analysis, which was written by your finance team, and that's just a brief overview in narrative form of what happened during the year from a finance point of view. Then it moves on to the basic financial statements. There's an entity-wide statement of net position, which attempts to take all the funds of the village, combine them together, and convert them to a full accrual, similar to the way the private sector balance sheet would be presented. After that is the fund financial statements, where you'll see all your individual governmental funds separately presented. So your general fund, your capital fund, your library fund. After that, there's the notes to the financial statements where you get into the description of all the items in the financial statements. And then there's, after that, following supplementary information. In addition to the rest of the information, it's for additional analysis, generally not a required part of the financial statements. I'll just start off on the opinion. Third page in, if you happen to be following along. This is the independent auditor's report, and I'll read it to you. In our opinion, the financial statements referred to above present fairly in all material respects. The respective financial position of the governmental activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of the village as of May 31st, 2017, and the respective changes in financial position and budgetary comparison for the general fund for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. This is referred to as an unmodified opinion. Some refer to it as a clean opinion. This is the most favorable opinion that an auditor can give to any village. So keep that in mind, as what we're certifying here is that the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. The statement of net position, as I mentioned, is on page 14. This is all the village's funds combined on a full accrual basis of accounting. And there's an unrestricted net position, and it's in a deficit of $10.5 million. I'd like to try and explain that, because there's certain long-term liabilities of the village that can't legally be funded, the largest of which is other post-employment benefit obligations of about $8.5 million. And because the state doesn't allow you to fund those on a current basis, you're not legally allowed to fund those. You have to recognize a liability, but you're only funding it on a pay-as-you-go basis. It creates a financial statement deficit.
That's something that's only been the last couple of years. I think there's been a requirement to put in that statement too. Isn't that right?
It was a requirement of GASB Statement 45, maybe about 5 years. at
Okay,
most.
all right, yeah, I
You
thought
know,
it was fairly recent.
Just for your information, there's actually a new accounting standard coming up. It'll be effective, I believe, next year for the village. That changes the way it needs to be accounted for, but it's ultimately going to make the liability grow a little bit larger. But it's really, it doesn't change the funding mechanism. It doesn't change the way you budget for it.
Right.
You still have to, on a current basis, fund the cash outlays for retiree health benefits in your budget. So that won't change.
Right.
The accounting standards can't tell you how to fund. They can only tell you how to account for things. I'd like to take you through the general fund, the primary operating fund of the village. It's on page 52 and 53 if you're following along. This is the general fund comparative schedule of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, budget and actual. We have 17 on page 52 and 2016 results on page 53. It's a 4-column presentation. It starts with the original budget as adopted by the board. The final budget has any amendments or transfers throughout the year. The 3rd column is the actual results, and the 4th column is the variance between the final budget and actual results. When the budget was adopted, total revenues were anticipated to be $12,287,000. That number was revised upwards to $12,486,000. Actual revenues for the year were $12,832,000. That's a positive budgetary variance of $346,000. So you collected some $346,000 more than your original budget had anticipated. A couple of the items where you achieved that, there was actually a deficiency in the real property tax line of about $125,000. That's because refunds, SCAR refunds to residents and taxpayers and tax tertiary refunds that relate to the current year reduce the current year revenue. So that means your revenue came in shorter than you had budgeted. You had a positive budgetary variance in licenses and permits of $237,000. So that's certainly the largest positive budgetary variance during the year. You also have a positive budgetary variance in miscellaneous category, or refunds from your insurance company that came in that related to prior years, and that was about $68,000. So all said and done, there were some mostly positives, but those are the larger ones that I highlighted. It resulted in a total positive budgetary variance of $346,000. That's roughly 2.8% of your budget. Your expenditures were initially anticipated to be $11.625 million. They were revised upwards to 11,771,000. Actual expenditures were 11,742,000. It's a positive budgetary variance of just about $30,000. So your appropriation side of the budget, your expenditure categories, are running very close to as you anticipated. So you didn't go over, which is a good thing, but it's something to keep in mind that you don't have a lot of excess room in the budget. There's also a category called other financing sources and uses. In the case of this village, it's mostly transfers to your library fund and transfers to the capital projects funds, and generally those transfers match the budget. So when it's all said and done, the total budgetary variance for the year was $395,000. Because when the village adopted its budget, it didn't appropriate fund balance, meaning your revenues matched your expenditures. You didn't anticipate utilizing previously accumulated surplus to balance your budget. So in that case, your budgetary variance matches your actual variance. So your fund balance actually increased by that $395,000.
And that was our goal too, so that's good, yeah.
It's definitely, certainly positive on some $12 million budget, that's about 3.2% of your budget, which is a nice figure to have. You started the year with $1,446,000 in fund balance. You end the year with $1,841,000. So, of that $1,841,000 total fund balance, most of it is what we call unrestricted fund balance, which means it's available for discretion for spending at discretion of the village board, essentially. It could be used to appropriate in future years' budgets, it could be used for unanticipated expenditures, or it could be retained for just for that, emergency, unforeseen circumstances.
The rainy day fund, I
The
guess.
rainy day fund, that's your fund balance. That's what you have. That's what you have in the bank. That's the number. It's about 14.6% of your budget, which is a healthy number. Typical benchmark is 10%, so you're in excess of that, which is good. It's certainly something to look at as you're budgeting. Do you want to use any of that fund balance? Do you not? It's obviously better not to use the fund balance to take that down, but it is, an important number that you need to be aware of. I'll just briefly highlight your long-term liabilities. It's on page 35 of the financial statements, the notes. Total liabilities, long-term liabilities, are $17,689,000. So there's, as of May 31st, 2017, about $6 million in serial bonds outstanding. You have about $568,000 liabilities for compensated absences. That's sick time and vacation time related to your employees, your current employees. So as they retire, they'll be paid out those sums. $2,587,000 is a net pension liability. That number comes from the state's actuaries. So the state pension plans, there's two pension plans that you're involved in. It's the employee retirement system and the police and fire retirement system. It's a statewide plan. You contribute to that annually. The state figures out a total pension liability statewide for those plans, and you apportion that based on your percentage of the payroll to the total statewide. So the state has given us those figures, and those two numbers together, about $2.6 million. Just to put that in perspective, it is a well-funded plan. The two plans together are about 95% funded. So it's, it is a well-funded plan. Other states aren't in that kind of situation. You see much lower numbers. So overall, the state's plans are, in relatively good condition. Although if the market keeps on having days like they did today, you don't know what's going to happen in the future, but this is just as of a point in time. And the last liability is $8.5 million. That's what I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation. That's for other post-employment benefit obligations, and that's what's going to be paid out in the future for retirees' health care costs. The number that's the amount of contributions the village made in 16, 17, in this fiscal year for those retiree health benefits was $670,000. So that's the amount that goes into your budget, and you have to fund that on a current basis, not the 8.5 million.
Right.
Just so everyone understands that. Are there any questions on anything? The general, trying to focus on the general fund, your primary operating fund. You have a capital projects fund. All the projects are funded. There's one project with a very small deficit of $40,000. But other than that, they're all funded projects. No issues to report. We issue what's informally known as a management letter, a report over internal controls. I'm happy to say there's no material weaknesses over internal controls. So there's nothing significant that I need to bring up, with regards to that. There actually were no journal entries that we recorded as part of the audit. That's relatively uncommon. Most of the time you have some adjustments that need to be made. The books are, I would say very good condition. Definitely, as I mentioned previously, clean audit. Definitely, pleasure to be here.
Well,
Pleasure to come.
that's good to hear. We like that, actually. Yeah, we put a lot of work into making sure that we're budgeting properly. Bringing on a village administrator was really a game changer for the financial stability of our village. To have somebody here who manages the department heads who are managing their departments on a steady basis has, we saw immediately the return on that investment. Going from, as you can see in the statement, just a couple of years ago of a fund balance of minus $5,000 to today $1.8 million is something that makes me very happy. Puts us in the best fiscal position that the state rates you. They have a fiscal stress program. We're in the best category of that, so that's very good. I'm sure that our bond rating will be reflected very favorably next time they actually go through that process of rating us. And, we have very little bonding that's out, so we're taking a look at that. Also, $6 million, we've done a poll of other municipalities, and we're really on the light end of that. So we may even do a little bit more bonding just to go ahead and take care of some street resurfacing and things that, our residents are really entitled to. So, overall, I know I'm pleased, and I was very happy when I met with you a couple of times during this process. Good feeling that we've done a good job. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think we're good.
Question behind you
Oh,
from the public.
I have a couple questions for you. This is Albert Stern, 14 Westview Avenue. On page 57 of the report, it has something called engineering fees, and they went from like $2,000, $2,600 to $242,000. Do you happen to know what they are?
I'm assuming that's the hotel.
Yes.
That's the cost that the village had to pay for the hotel.
What kind of costs were those?
Engineering costs, legal costs.
Yeah, I think
We had to hire
legal.
we had to hire HDR. These are not inexpensive firms.
HDR?
Yes, Mike Musa, you remember him?
No, I thought the developer was paying for him.
And a portion was paid by the developer, and a portion, the lawsuit had to be defended by us,
So
the village.
Under engineering fees, you actually have primarily legal fees to defend the lawsuit against the village from the citizens. Is that correct?
from the Marbledale Road Environmental
Marbledale Road.
Coalition.
So
In addition to
Absolutely.
engineering fees.
my question is simply then, why call them engineering fees when they're actually legal fees to defend yourselves against a lawsuit?
Well, I think we need to look at, I'm not going to say that they are the legal fees. I would need to take a look at the vouchers for the particular line that you're talking about to identify exactly what
We know
they are.
we know the legal fees are over $200,000, and there's no other place I saw in the numbers that would indicate that. So I assume it was in the engineering fee. But
Well, this gentleman
it's a
here.
it's
Okay. I'm going to say this gentleman.
I'm asking him why it should be an engineering fee when it's primarily legal fees.
But I don't know if he specifically knows what hit that line. That's what I'm saying.
Did the audit though, didn't he?
He did, yes, he did the audit, but, Jeff, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but do you remember every particular payment voucher that equated to that line? Yeah, I wouldn't imagine that.
Okay. The second thing I had is, do you audit things like employee reimbursements for business or auto travel? Do you look for reimbursements for use of cars?
Actually, it's really not a public hearing, but if you don't have an answer, he's asking a specific question of, if a village employee is or has been reimbursed for use of their vehicle, would you have knowledge of that in this? It's certainly recorded in the document that you have, so.
We look at items based on materiality levels. So we tend to look at larger items. So some of those items that we might want to look at is your real property taxes. And we want to look at your cash balances. We want to look at the amounts paid to employees. If something came to our attention that we wanted to look at those type of things, we could. I don't recall if we had any of those specific instances in this year. It's not something that I would normally look at in the normal course.
Understood. Thank you.
The reason I brought this up is there's been some controversy, at least I brought up, about what is called fuel charges, both for the administrator and for the billing department.
It's not a controversy. It's something that you
I think it's a
latched onto.
controversy.
Okay.
Because
It's nothing
been
controversial.
used
It's a
to-
reimbursement for the use of their vehicle, so.
Well, then I'll ask the auditor, do you reimburse the employee a flat fund, a flat amount every year for use of their automobile instead of paying on a per mileage basis? Is this considered generally accepted accounting principles?
Would you like me to?
If you,
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel like you're put on the spot here or something.
Accounting principles talk about how you report your financial statements. So it talks about cash, how to present cash, how to present your pen sheets and income statement. Accounting standards don't talk about how you should pay your employees.
Right.
So it's not, I can't point anywhere in the accounting standards where it would say you have to pay your employees this way or that way, reimburse or flat. It's not really an accounting, it's not an accounting question. It could be a compliance question. Are you following IRS regulations on how you report that? But it's not really an accounting question.
Excellent. You're right. Thank you.
Fine. The last thing I have is that what I've seen in the financial statements is tremendous increases in services, non-taxes. For example, last year the services increased by 11%. Since 2013, they've increased by 52%. And I'm just suggesting that most of these are incomes that probably won't be repeated. For example, the amount of building department fees went up over 100% since 2013 to like $940,000. Same was with fines. So fines and building department revenues are a big part of the increase in revenues since in the last 3 years. I'm only saying this to indicate that it can't be persisting at that kind of rate, 50 and 100% rate. So eventually, and the services are cut back, I would say property taxes have to move up because you cannot continue to get fines.
That's a question.
That's just
You can ask me that question later on. This gentleman is here for the, that's not a question for the auditor
you're
for
right,
this
it's
particular,
not.
so you can ask that question later on. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to move on pursuant to Section 1 and Markets Law. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
And actually, Chief, maybe just want to tell us a little bit about this, but the Chief talked about this at our Thursday night meeting, and he said something that I thought was interesting about if you lost your dog. So tell us about if you lose your dog or if you find a lost dog.
Okay, so first we'll talk about the agreement. The agreement is with Stamen Animal Hospital, an agreement that's been in place with this particular venue since probably 1998 or so, sometime towards the late 90s. So we've had this agreement with them for several years, and it's for the care of impounded animals. So the police department comes across a stray dog, or somebody finds a dog and that dog needs to be taken into our custody. It's impounded. We bring the dog over to Stamen's. Stamen's cares for it with veterinary services and also for its care, boarding until the owner's found. So what the police department does is when we do find the dog, is that we first order of business is that we call our local surrounding police departments to see if they've had any reports of lost dogs, and if not, then we'll bring that dog over to Stamen's. We'll take a picture of the dog, we'll put it on social media. Some cases we post signs where the neighborhood where the dog was found. Probably 95% or more of the times the dog's owners contact us within the first couple hours that the dog is lost. There are times that the dog has taken over Stamen's, given its shots, given whatever veterinary services are required, and then is boarded there for a day or two until the rightful owners. With technology now, a lot of dogs have the computer chips embedded in them, and Stamen's has the ability to read those chips. So, but we ask our residents that if you come across a stray dog and you take it in, you give us a call, because we'll do everything we can to locate the owner. If your dog is lost, you give us a call, and again, we'll contact our neighboring departments as well as go out and look for the dog. So we're fortunate. We don't call upon Stamen's too often over the course of the year, but when they do, they provide the village great service.
Very good. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Oh, thank you. You know what? I totally skipped over that. So I'm actually going to jump backwards, and I'm going to.
Can we do the roll call on that first and then go to the?
Oh, thank you.
Trustee Luisi?
In favor.
Trustee Leo?
In favor?
Trustee Alfasi?
In favor.
Mayor Eklund?
In favor. Thank you for keeping me in line. Thank you, Trustee Alfasi. We're going to approve the minutes of the regular meeting 2018. Do I have a motion for that? Do I have a motion? Second? It's our Thursday work session, and we're apparently very light on the fees, and it's definitely not enough to kind of cover the costs, the internal administrative costs for, so we're going to do of neighboring communities, make some adjustments to that.
Trustee Luisi?
In favor.
Trustee Leo?
In favor?
Trustee Alfasi?
In favor.
Mayor Eklund?
In favor. Resolution number 4, authorizing a declaration of a streetlight replacement on an emergency basis exempt from bidding procedures by Verde Electric Maintenance Corp. in the amount of $28,980. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? That is for that light, I guess, on, or traffic signal, yeah. Traffic light on Cameron and Main, right? Okay.
Trustee Luisi?
In favor.
Trustee Leo?
In favor?
Trustee Alfasi?
In favor.
Vouchers in the amount of $818,377.03. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Trustee Luisi?
In favor.
Trustee Leo?
In favor?
Trustee Alfasi?
In favor.
Mayor
Bring us to our departmental report. Camille? Gary? Okay, good.
The mayor's not here, so.
Okay.
just to- We have a planning board work session tomorrow night at 7. That's February 6th. And the main thing on the agenda there is the Concordia is looking to make some improvements to the soccer field, which is located in the village. Then on February 14th at 6:45 is the zoning board work session. The meeting's at 7:30. I believe the only application there is 180 Lake, looking for some area variances. I believe they're looking to expand a porch in the front of their home. And then the planning board meeting is on the 21st at 7:30. It's on a Wednesday this, because I think the President's Day, I think it pushed the planning board meeting to the Wednesday. So that's the planning and zoning board, and I believe the planning board, the only thing again is the improvements to the soccer field over in
And,
Concordia.
and we also this month, I don't know if it was last month too, but we've made a change on our television scroll where I actually can see, rather than just saying that the planning board is going to be holding a hearing at, 123 Main Street. Now it says 123 Main Street for a new deck that's going on somebody's house or something like that. So I think that's very good.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. That was your suggestion, and that was a great suggestion. I think.
Well, a little bit more disclosure people can understand, so, thank you.
We've implemented that.
David, anything?
Real quick, the audit, Jim LaPerch and Ryan Rieta put in hours upon hours upon hours, and when he said that our books are great, it's because of those two guys right there. They do a fantastic job, and I really have to thank them. On another note, real quick about, I know that kind of the P site is always coming up, and we're looking for more information on that. Unfortunately, not validated yet, so we have nothing on that. Talked to the DEC today, and they hope to have it in February, validated data. And then what they do is they put together a site characterization investigation, and they actually release the report at that point, and they make a determination what they want to do with that. We're going to wait for them to release that at hopefully some point this month. We're also hoping to schedule something in the springtime to kind of get the community meetings back up, where we can have kind of the hotel site wrap up, the actual brownfield site wrap up, have the DEC down, kind of explain the P site to us, where they are in the process, where they're going to go forward or not go forward, trying to give us that update. Some of the ambient air, some of the the other testing they're going to do, they're resampling a couple of homes on the west and east side, but they're also going out and going to do some the ambient air on Hall Avenue to ensure that that TCE issue was taken care of, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So we're going to also await that data. So that's something that we're waiting for them to kind of wrap up, hopefully kind of do another meeting down at the community center, have all the players kind of lined up, kind of finalize the brownfield, tell us about the P site, hopefully get some good results about the TCE, and figure out if we have to go any forward, or
Right.
how do we go from there.
Yeah, I know, David, you and I spoke about this, and we're going to do all we can to make sure the DEC comes down. They haven't been down in a while, so it's it's a good time for them to come and wrap up the brownfield site and give us as much information as they can on the P site. So looking forward to that sometime this spring. All right, miscellaneous business. Our next village board meeting is going to be, pardon me, on March 5th. And that's going to bring us to our Board of Trustees member reports. And tonight we're going to start with me. Gary mentioned about this a little bit, the Concordia College field. Residents should know that over the next couple of months, there's going to be some public hearings and opportunities to provide input at the planning board meetings for a proposed turf field and lighting renovation. And this is on the field on Rose Avenue and White Plains Road. So I know a lot of the residents who live immediately next to that field. They came out at the last planning board meeting, and so I urge them, please come on down. We've talked to Concordia. They have made it very clear that they really want to make sure that the residents are satisfied and it's going to be a good fit in that neighborhood. So if you don't come down and politely explain to them what your concerns are, then they don't really understand what it is your concerns are unless you come down and tell them. So please make sure you keep the planning board schedule on your radar for that. Our budget season is underway. We're going to be starting to meet before our next meeting for some budget meetings. We meet here on some Saturday mornings. We'll probably have some evening meetings here and there. But so far, things are looking pretty good. And finally, I just want to briefly talk about the flu season that the epidemic that we're facing. It's been a terrible time for a lot of people. So I just can't stress enough how important it is that everyone gets their flu shot. It's not too late. This has been a especially tough flu and pneumonia season for a lot of our residents. So please take extra care this year. And that's going to bring us to Trustee Luisi.
Thank you, Mayor. And it's so true about the what you said about this flu season. It's, so many people I know have been affected by this. So keep your hands clean, as they say. That seems to be one of the best ways to prevent any of this from happening. But anyway, I'm going to start off by talking about our Tuckahoe seniors, and the highlight of the month for the seniors is going to be when they celebrate Valentine's Day on February 15th with a barbecue that will be catered by Dickey's Barbecue. And as always, they look forward to Town Supervisor Tony Calavita's visit, along with his gift of strawberry shortcake for dessert. And last month, I gave the residents an annual report from the Tuckahoe History Committee, and due to the length of that report, I sort of shortened it down and really just highlighted what they had accomplished in 2017. So I would just like to continue with the report and talk about what their future plans are for the committee. And what they continue to do and hope to continue to do is to continue to digitize old photographs, many of which can be found on the village's website. And you can also look up some of these fine presentations on the YouTube channel. Some of their photos are on display at the Fountains, the Riverview, Angelina's, the Old Mill, and more recently they have been put on display at the Tower Club and Starbucks. And the History Committee would also like to acknowledge the generosity of the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, and Riverview, who thanks to their donations, have allowed the History Committee to purchase a computer, a screen, a projector, and speakers, which allow them to better serve the various groups that they share the history of Tuckahoe with. And as always, the History Committee continues to encourage residents and former residents to add to their collection. They recently received a donation of political posters, a milk box, bottles, and personal items from a gentleman by the name of John Pediri. It was a donation from his estate. And the committee hopes to continue to expand the historical articles that are here on the second floor here at Village Hall, and they're also looking to partner with other historical groups in the county in order to better keep the public informed about this important resource that we have here in our community. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Sorry, thank you. We're going to move to Trustee Antonio Leo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As usual, the Tuckahoe Library has many wonderful programs. This month, the monthly children's programs are as follows: Kids Yoga, Puzzles and Board Games, Sing Along with Miss Elaine, Arts and Crafts, Legos, and Story Time. The special programs are Special Mandarin Bilingual Story Time, and that will take place on Friday, February 16th at 11 a.m., and it's for children from birth to 5 years old. Musical Adventures with Concordia Conservatory, African Folk Tales, a performance program of music and literature, and it's open to all ages, and it takes place on Thursday, February 22nd at 4 p.m. Children's Bookcraft with author Joanne Rose, and that will take place on Friday, February 23rd at 1 p.m., and it's open to children from ages 6 to 11. Kids Book Club, A Wonder by R.J. Palacio, and it's for 4th and 5th graders, and that will take place on Friday, February 23rd at 4 p.m. The kids' movie is Cars 3, and it's open to children ages 4 to 10, and that will take place on Tuesday, February 27th at 3:30 p.m. For teens, the monthly programs are as follows: yoga, chess, Wednesday afternoon video gaming, and the special programs are Sliming It, and that will take place on Thursday, February 15th at 3:30 p.m. The staff librarians will give instruction on how to create basic slime, the latest trendy plaything. Teen movie will be Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and that will take place on Monday, February 23rd at 3:15 p.m. For adults, the monthly programs are as follows: Wednesday movie matinees, knit and crochet group, one-on-one computer classes, memoir writing workshops, adult coloring. Special programs: AARP tax help, and that begins on Friday. February 2nd through April 13th from 12 to 3. This is a great program, and everyone should take advantage of this. Changes from the Great War with Eastchester town historian Richard Forliano. That will take place on Wednesday, February 7th at 6:30 p.m. Forliano will discuss rarely seen slides on how the Great War of 1917 impacted the local community and transformed the world. Intro to Yoga and Meditation, and that will take place on Thursday, February 8th at 5:45 until 7 p.m. Certified instruction Ann Casapini will lead you through a variety of yoga poses and guided meditation. W.E.B. Du Bois, A Man for All Times, that will take place on Saturday, February 10th at 1 p.m. That will be at the Tuckahoe Community Center. Brian Richardson of M&M Production portrays a great civil rights leader and historian, W.E. Du Bois. Healthy Dishes with Annette Zito. That will take place on Tuesday, February 20th at 4 p.m. Please join us to learn how to make delicious, healthy breakfast and snacks. Reiki meditation session. That will take place on Tuesday, March 13th at 12 p.m. Librarian and Reiki practitioner Linda Ahern will present Reiki meditation session. And for the book club meeting, Chilbury Ladies Choir by Jennifer Ryan. That will take place on Wednesday, March 21st at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday, March 24th at 1 p.m. And as usual, please call the library, and registration is required for all programs. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you very much. And lastly, we have a sad message from the man sitting on my left here, Trustee Steve Alfasi, so I'll let him speak.
Not so sad, not so sad.
Well, sad for us.
Ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to let everyone know that this will be the last meeting that I'll be sitting here as a trustee for the village board. This week I'll be resigning from the Tuckahoe Board of Trustees. The reason for my resignation is I am taking a position with the Office of Corporation Counsel of the City of Yonkers as a Senior Assistant Corporation Counsel. That'll happen later this month. This position is one where I will be representing the legal interests of the City of Yonkers, and in doing so, I must be politically impartial and have the appearance of impartiality. Holding elected office, even in the village of Tuckahoe, would give an appearance of partiality. I have a few people to recognize and say thank you to. First and foremost, of course, my family, who has continuously supported me during my campaigns and while in office. Second, I'd like to thank, of course, the voters of Tuckahoe, who have given me the distinct honor to serve on this Board of Trustees for 2 terms. I deeply am humbled by your support. Thank the village of Tuckahoe's employees, our police officers, our DPW, the building department, the library, court personnel, and of course the administrative staff. They all make Tuckahoe a fantastic village to live and raise our families in. A special thanks to David Burke, who has brought professional management to the village and has helped tremendously in placing us in the great position that we find the village in today. And of course, Gary and Camille. Thank you for your friendship and for your support for all these years. Last but certainly not least, I'd like to thank my colleagues, including the late trustee Stephen Quigley, who, whether you agree with their decisions or not, I can undoubtedly say that they have made their decisions with their hearts, with their minds, and with the best interest of Tuckahoe in mind. Also, within the limits of the Constitution of the United States and the state constitution, as they all swore to do, as Emily did here tonight as well. I am extremely proud to say that the village of Tuckahoe is in a fantastic fiscal position, as you heard tonight from Jeff, one of our accountants, outside accountants. And we are named by the New York Times as one of the best places to live in New York. This isn't by accident. Sound decision-making and planning brought us here. I could go on further, but I won't. If I did this, the speech would start sounding like a campaign speech, and that's not what it's intended to be. So to everyone in the village, thank you so much for your support. I look forward to seeing you in the streets, in the stores, and please stop me and say hello. I'm not going anywhere. I'm still going to be a member of the community, and I humbly thank you for all the support you've given me throughout the years.
Steve Alfasi, an appreciation for his dedicated service and positive contributions as Village of Tuckahoe trustee, presented by Mayor Stephen A. Eklund and the Board of Trustees, February 2018. So thank you very much for your
Thank you
service
so
to our
much, Mr.
community.
Mayor. Very nice.
We're going to miss you. You've done a lot of great work here.
I'm
and,
not going anywhere.
No, I know that. I know that. You'll be on the other side of that microphone. now,
Absolutely.
so that's good. So I don't know if any of my colleagues have any. I know it's been kind of a surprise to a lot of them. So, but we all certainly appreciate it. Antonio, if you
Yeah,
want-
yeah. I
sure.
mean, it's been a pleasure and an honor working with you. You and I have been on the same ticket, so I've had the opportunity to actually spend a great deal of time with you. I've learned a lot from you, your counsel, and I really wish you the best in your future and much continued success.
Thank you so much, Antonio.
Yes, thank you, Steve. I applaud your, the initiative that we have underway right now with looking at the zoning regulations, and you were instrumental in getting that train rolling. So
The ball's
thank you.
rolling.
Yep. So, and I've known you for quite a while, and it's been a pleasure knowing you personally and as well as a colleague here on the sport. So best of luck to you in Yonkers, and remember, they still are not Bronx boys either,
Thanks, Greg.
even though they think they are.
We'll see you around the village for sure.
Absolutely.
So that's going to bring us to the second opportunity to address the board. Anybody like to address the board tonight? Yes, ma'am. Good evening.
Evening, Irene.
Irene Norman from 38 Roger Street in Tuckahoe. Reason why I come here tonight is I have been thinking that Tuckahoe made history back when my father-in-law, Henry Norman, became the first black chief of police in Westchester County. And I was thinking it would behoove the village to name a street after him. We have a street after Reverend Houston and Eli Strand, and I would love to see a street named after, or even the Main Street Park named after him and his wife Nettie Norman, because she was instrumental in playground party for the kids, and she worked on the community center when it was in the park being built. So I would hope that you all would consider maybe naming from Marble Place to Main Street, Chief Henry Norman Boulevard or Road. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Good evening.
Sarah Derice, 204 Dante Avenue. First, let me say thank you to Trustee Alfasi for his work from the village, and good luck in your next endeavor. We hope it goes well for you. We appreciate the work you've done so far up to this point for the village, so thank you.
Thank you.
My comment tonight has a little bit of a personal interest, and I'm looking into doing some work in my home, and so I've been talking to some friends and neighbors who have recently finished improvements in their homes, and one of the things that consistently came up was issues in dealing with the building department and receiving their permits, and seeming like a lot of hoops to jump through in order to move forward with sometimes simple projects, sometimes not so simple projects, and every project having its nuance and lots of different pieces moving, I'm sure, but even in a simple project where it seems like someone's just trying to throw some sheetrock up in a basement with some outlets, takes a very, very long time to get approval from the building department. So I wanted to come to you because I made some phone calls around today to try to figure out maybe where some other building departments lie locally as well. Eastchester, town of Eastchester is saying it usually takes 2 to 4 weeks when you have a decent plan, and this is all assuming that everyone has submitted all of their things that need to be submitted, and there's no holes in the plans anywhere. 2 to 4 weeks. Bronxville says it takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get a first review on their projects. And here in Tuckahoe, the department says that most things, once everything has been filed, is reviewed within 5 days. But that is really contradictory to what I'm hearing from the residents of the village, where some are saying it's taking 5 months, 6 months, even more to get permits for somewhat simple projects. I'm not talking about 2-story additions or blowing out walls or that kind of project. But was hoping that that's something that you might be willing to look into and what that process is and how much it is affecting the residents of this village. You know, we all love our old houses, but a lot of them are in dire need of some updates at this point, and to make it that much harder for everyone to do so seems counterproductive in some ways.
We've actually addressed this, and not saying that we wouldn't take another look at it, but we did have some issues in years past, and so one of the things that we streamlined was first of all, changing our paperwork. The application process was very outdated, so we updated that, streamlined that process. A lot of times, some people will find themselves having a lot longer process in the building department because they don't have their paperwork necessarily, in order, and they can't take an application until it's a complete application. And look, the reality is the building department, whether it's in Tuckahoe or whether it's in Wallkill, New York, is the most intimidating and difficult process for any homeowner to deal with, and it's because there's just so much unknown, and we're trying to make that process as simple as possible. By hiring actually a code enforcement, our Michael Seminara, who works for the village now, that was that made a huge difference. First of all, it took a lot of load off of our building inspector, but Michael, who is in construction, he actually can kind of break down. He can talk to a homeowner sort of on a different level than a building inspector can. So we've made some strides. We've made some changes. Sorry to hear you mentioned that there are still some pockets of issues. Anyone who really has an issue, if they feel that they're not getting timely service at the building department, should certainly reach out to our village administrator. That's something that he would then get down and actually have a conversation and find out where are we at with this.
It seems like there's other issues that have been brought up, and that there's just a backlog in some places. And is there a need for another person within that department? We're finding, more people who are either buying some of these older homes that need some extensive updating, or decide they want to stay as opposed to move out and do the work in their homes instead of move out and find somewhere else. That's going to create a much bigger workload for that department as well. So has that increased at all? Maybe that's something to look into as well.
We'll follow up and see if they do have a backlog. We'll definitely take a look at that.
Thank you so much.
No, can I just say a few things? Yeah, I'm a practicing architect. I do a little bit of work in Tuckahoe, and one of the things you find is that you are correct. The application process for Tuckahoe is actually fairly simple, and you get a project. Typically, if you do everything correctly, I don't know if your neighbors are using a licensed architect to do their work, or they're trying to do it by themselves. So each case is quite different.
Every case I've spoken to is different. Some
Right.
people required one, some people didn't. So it's
Well, typically, if you're filing with the building department, you have to hire a professional.
a professional, yes, but
Is it
maybe not an architect, but a contractor. Like if you're
No.
not moving walls or doing if you're just putting up sheetrock, I'm not sure why an architect would be.
If you're just putting up sheetrock, typically, I mean, if you have damaged sheetrock, for argument's sake, you're replacing it, you don't need a building permit for it.
You're talking like an empty basement.
So
that
are you
you're
trying to
just
finish? Well, then you need. Then what you need to do is, if you're trying to finish a basement, you really need file a plan with a professional. Somebody has to sign and seal for that document.
Right.
All right. So you got to. So a contractor doesn't have a license. I mean, doesn't have an architectural license. A contractor has a building license. So the point I'm trying to make is that in my experiences, going through the Tuckahoe Building Department has been quite simple. As long as you have everything. No question, and they are very helpful there. What I do find is when speaking to homeowners is they're, as the mayor said, they're afraid of the building department, and you have to remember the building department is there to protect you, and protect you from contractors who don't do the right job. So, for example, what takes a longer period of time is, the building inspector has to come out and do inspections. He has to do plumbing inspections, electrical inspections, framing inspections. And that takes your contractors are responsible for scheduling those, and it takes a few days for him to come out to schedule you in, and for him to come out and do the actual inspections. And you typically find that the contractors don't make those inspections, and then they start blaming the building department inspector. He's not coming out. So you have to be very careful. you go through the experience, and I think if you do everything properly, you should have a pleasant experience. And don't be afraid of the building department because, again, he's there to protect you. That's his job.
Thank you.
And if it's 5 months to something, a delay like that, that might also be a zoning and/or planning issue.
Correct, yeah.
That the people who are doing renovations may have to go before the planning and/or zoning board
Because
for
those boards
various
only meet
reasons.
once a month.
Right,
Yeah.
okay, of course. Thank you so much, I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
time.
Anybody else wish to?
Hi, Melba Kellyano, Westview Avenue. I just wanted to mention that the Tuckahoe Independents and myself attended the Martin Luther King breakfast over at the Clarksville Reformed Church on Martin Luther King birthday. And it was a great event. We enjoyed it very much. And I have to point out that similarly to what I see here, we had a lot of Boy Scouts at the Martin Luther King event. And it occurred to me that we don't see Girl Scouts at those events. And I don't know that I've seen Girl Scouts at the ceremonial events we have here in our little courtroom. So my question is, has anyone contacted the Girl Scouts to find out if they're interested in participating in any of our ceremonial events here? Has anyone considered inviting the Girl Scouts to the Martin Luther King breakfast? Do we have the Girl Scouts on the radar?
Well, I can answer. I know that the ECAP is the one who invites the Boy Scouts each year. I don't know if it's not a village event; it's a ECAP event. So
I know that.
yeah, I'm not so sure. I don't know if they have reached out to the Girl Scouts. That I'm not really sure about at all. In terms of other village events, the Girl Scouts actually there were more Girl Scouts at our Easter egg hunt helping out last year, I think, than there were Boy Scouts. So. You know, when it kind of depends on the leadership of the scouting program. For a couple of years, we had Girl Scouts at every event, but I think a lot of that was driven by the mothers of some of those Girl Scouts who were Girl Scout leaders were very involved in Tuckahoe community events. So they, you know, but feel free, please, to reach out to them if you'd like, and certainly we would love to have the Girl Scouts at any events that we
I'm
have.
wondering how is it that the Boy Scouts managed to get here for the ceremonial events? Who's contacting them?
Which ceremonial event are you talking about?
Do you have the flag ceremonies here? You have all.
When we have a flag ceremony at our swearing-in ceremonies, most of the time I will reach out to the Boy Scouts and ask them.
Then maybe we should be reaching out to the Girl Scouts as well.
Good. Anything else?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Mike Dardano, 62 Chestnut Street, Tuckahoe. First, Steve, I want to thank you for your service. I haven't known you that long, but I don't always agree with some of the stuff that the board does, but I appreciate your candor. We've had some great talks, and sorry to see you go, but I'm sure you'll be doing well for Yonkers. Yonkers is, so thank you. Second thing is I came in a little late, David, so excuse me. I just wanted to ask, I know you were given an update on the P sites. In that update that you gave, was there any mention about what the DEC has done regarding responsible parties, or is that still part of that? Nothing yet, right? It hasn't been brought up yet. Because I've reached out to Carpenter myself, so I'm going to talk to him and see what he says to me, because I'm just curious on that front. Two other things. I also want to reiterate that I thought the Martin Luther King breakfast was fantastic. And I feel bad that I've never gone before, but it was wonderful. So it was very, very, very good.
Very inspirational.
It was very inspirational. And unfortunately, I was getting sick that day. You had the flu, I think, Mayor.
I've had pneumonia, actually.
Oh, you
so-
had pneumonia?
Yeah, I've been
Oh,
suffering for a month now. Yeah.
For a month? Yeah, I had it off and on for like a month, too. So, anyways, I wanted to let you know that I reached out to ECAP today, and I think I told you at the last board meeting that I planned on helping them out. Now, there's a program that you obviously you know that are on the board. They have a summer program, but what I want to try to do is institute something that's off, not in the summer, during the school year, that would be working with students on helping them with their resumes and helping them with interview skills. I did a program last week in Mount Vernon where we did mock interviews. It was very good. It was very, very helpful. So I'm also talking to the county about doing it, where small business owners would volunteer their time to go around to the different school systems and charity groups like ECAP and work with students on that, because I think it's a huge issue that we have as a country, and it's something that they need, those skills. So I've left a message for Don, talked to his assistant, so hopefully I'll know. And as I find out what more is going on, I'll let you know, because I think the chamber could be involved with this as well.
True.
I think small businesses can go and really help them. For example, if you're in McDonald's and you are a cashier, if you just say I'm a cashier, people say you're just a cashier, but if you say I have a shift in the morning, it's a 4-hour shift, I have $2,000 pass through my hands and I deal with 200 customers, that puts a whole different spin on what a McDonald's cashier is, and it gives it more value, and it shows the kind of skills that you have to be a cashier. So, and finally, the last question I have, or point I wanted to make, it's kind of a combination of two. I read this article about a gentleman who did a speech in Fairfield County about the future of retail. And I know retail is a big issue because of our empty storefronts and what's going on with retail. So I wanted to read this to you and get your thoughts on this. This gentleman, his name was Castleman, and he urged people at this meeting, he said that he thinks retailers have to do what's called DICE. And it's not dice or dice clay, but it's DICE. And what it is it's offering differentiation, inspiration, community, and experience to their customers, as opposed to a mere arrangement of products on the shelves. Those that do that will have longevity. If we go to retail that doesn't do that every single day, they will die. So my question is that does it make sense to perhaps create some sort of a committee with the chamber, maybe with some business owners, with residents, to look at that sort of thing so we can come up with, what the hell happened? Hello? Oh. Some way to come up with that kind of a review or a program where we can help market Tuckahoe to unique retail experiences. Because another nail salon isn't going to cut it. We have to compete with Bronxville, and we have to compete with Scarsdale, and even Eastchester, even though they're our brethren. And unique retail experiences are important. So if there's maybe something, I know Bronxville tried it with an experiment. They had some people get together to think. I think we at Tuckahoe should think about doing that in combination with the chamber, with some small business people, and look at putting something like that together so we can sort of make suggestions, work with commercial brokers, because the commercial brokers are the one that out there that are trying to push those spots, and come up with a marketing proposal or a marketing initiative for Tuckahoe that lets unique retailers understand why it would be a great place to do business here.
That's interesting. I think that I always wonder, if we come up with a great scenario of, hey, we would like to see, like we had an antique clock guy who was going to come into Tuckahoe. I thought that was great. Yeah. And then he ended up choosing Mamaroneck or Harrison or something like that. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, it's really the stores, the property owner. But as you mentioned, they do use, not all of them, but they do use some commercial real estate brokers, like the Chase Bank, the empty Chase Bank in Crestwood, yeah. So, I think it would be a good idea to see if we can, maybe there's a niche type of industry that might be well suited for our village, that we could let these brokers know that we welcome that. Kind of falling back on the building department, I always felt that I'm a small business owner myself, and when you're dealing with the building department, it's kind of a struggle as to what you can and cannot do. And when you're going to rent space or purchase some property. So I think we need to also kind of involve, have a sort of a more user-friendly process where somebody says, hey, I want to open up this type of business. Can I open up this type of business? And so we need to kind of vet out what businesses can or cannot. You can't have certain types of businesses in that Chase building. Not everybody knows that. So, good suggestion. Yeah.
Exactly. That kind of a communication that and it made me think about the building department. Maybe the building department, the building inspector does sort of a how-to thing once in a while, or maybe on the website it says a how-to, not to cheat the system, but to say, here's the kind of things that we look for. Perhaps we could do that as well for this economic development, not to create an IDA or another layer of government or expense, but to use the expertise of the business owners and the people that we have here, the residents as well, and come up with something like that, maybe a how-to. How to be successful in Tuckahoe and come up with some ideas and utilize that almost like a business package for unique companies or retailers or whomever, and be able to say, by the way, here's our little help kit, a little assistance kit on how to work with the building department or whatever it happens to be. I think that might be beneficial, and it's something that I definitely want to pursue with the board.
Thank you. Good idea.
Hi, Norfolk Galliano again. I just want to pick up on Mike Dardano's suggestion. More than once, I suggested that the planning board and/or the building department, but particularly the planning board, do a survey of the commercial properties that we have in the village. Those suggestions don't seem to have taken flight. But what you can do when you have a survey is find out where your vacant properties really are. You can map them, you can list them, you can put them on your website, you can put your dimensions, you can put your square footage, your dollars per square footage, you can put your uses, your prohibited uses. Could easily be a part of, I suggest a survey of this particular instance, the commercial properties and vacant commercial properties that are in the village. Long ago, I actually did do a survey, a very informal survey of the types of establishments the residents wanted to see. And I can tell you still, they said supermarket, they said card and gift store, and those were the two big ones. But you could incorporate that as well into the survey. So there you have some ideas.
Anybody else wish to address the board? Yes, sir.
Anthony Fiore, 3 Midland. First, I want to say, Steve Alfonsi, thank you for the service to the village, and good luck in Yonkers.
Thank you, Anthony.
My question is the walk bridge. Anything happen with the walk bridge?
Well, interestingly enough, last Wednesday, it was, we were getting ready to, or correction, MTA was getting ready to cut that bridge out. And lo and behold, they discovered that Verizon Fios ran or Cablevision, I'm sorry. Oh, boy. Sorry, Cablevision snuck a line across a conduit across that bridge at some point, middle of the night, I guess. So, so rather than just cutting the service to all the residents, MTA's given them a little bit of time to relocate that service. So, yeah, they pushed it back a couple of weeks.
Next, I brought it up because I'm part of the history committee in Tuckahoe. If anybody has any old film back then when it was going up, bring it in, because if you have this one going down, maybe we could put these two together.
Yeah, and we're going to videotape that,
if anybody has
torching
any
that
old
bridge
movies,
out, too. That'd be pretty neat. I'd love to see
I
that.
watched it go up. That was about yay high.
Mhm.
So if anybody has old movies on it, find them somewhere, maybe we could slap something together. Going up and one coming down.
Yeah.
Well, hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Wrap it up. Okay, well, that's going to wrap up tonight's meeting. So with there being no other business, I will make a motion to adjourn this meeting. And do I have a second for that?
Second.
Yes, thank you very much. Till next time, Tuckahoe, have a very good evening.
Thank you, Mike.
So,